Good day, everybody. This is Chris of the Ancient Scholar. I hope this video finds you all doing well. It's quitting time here. I just closing the office down, just locked the doors, getting ready to head out, and I thought I would do a quick video. And in this particular video, I just want to talk a little bit about the Pixel 10. And this is going to be more of an extended review since I've had it for about a month now. And I've had a little more time to put it through its paces, and I've had a little more time for things to stabilize out. So here we have the Google Pixel 10. This is the base model, 128 gigabytes of storage, 12 gigabytes of RAM, triple camera, the display, right? This is just the base model Pixel 10. So my overall impressions are largely unchanged with a few exceptions, and that is to say that the overall experience has improved substantially. It's running very smooth. The applications are working, and kind of the clunkiness and the jitteriness and the judderiness that I was having initially seems to have worked out. And I think it's just they've finally been able to optimize everything, and they're running, firing on all cylinders. So having an overall really pleasant experience. I really do enjoy the Material, the Material Expressive 3, the new interface. It's colorful, it's playful, and it's just a lot of fun. So I really do enjoy that. However, I have to say that the cameras have taken a pretty significant downgrade from even last year's Pixel, and particularly when comparing the Pixel 10 to the base iPhone 17, because the wide angle and the ultra wide angle camera are downgraded from last year's Pixel 9 and are a substantial hardware downgrade from what the iPhone 17 has, in terms of megapixels, in terms of the sensor, and in terms of just the overall hardware quality. So I would say that your run-of-the-mill pictures on the iPhone are probably going to be a little better from just a pure hardware standpoint, although Google can do a lot with their artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of options you have available with the Pixel 10 that you don't necessarily have on the iPhone 17. But I would say just from an overall standpoint, the iPhone 17 is probably going to produce a better basic picture. I will say, however, the Pixel 10 is going to excel when it comes to, or not is going to excel, it does excel when it comes to zoom, when it comes to telephoto. The telephoto capabilities of this device are quite frankly impressive. It's just a 10.5 or 10.8 megapixel telephoto camera. Hardware wise, it's not super impressive, but it does produce a very high quality telephoto, particularly at 5 power. And even with digital zoom, it is actually really impressive what the photographic processing pipeline in the Pixel can do compared to the iPhone. The iPhone will get you up to 10 times of not optical zoom, but of augmented zoom, if you will, versus the Pixel 10, which I believe goes up to 20 times, but it's a really kind of a night and day comparison. The 20 power digital zoom on the Pixel 10 is substantially better than the 10 power digital zoom that you get on the iPhone 17. It's markedly better. I've done some really neat zoomed in panoramic photographs at 5 power. I've done some video at 20, or video at 5 power, and photographs at 20 power, and they're actually usable, unlike what you get with the 10 power optical, or the 10 power digital zoom on the iPhone. Their pipeline, I don't think, is as good or as robust as a Pixel 10. But when it comes to overall pictures that don't require zoom, your standard run-of-the-mill photographs are going to be a little better and going to have a lot more quality. There's going to be more quality. You're working with just a better quality hardware at the end of the day. So that is a kind of compromise that you make with the Pixel 10. The memory obviously is a big compromise as far as 128 gigabytes versus 256 on the iPhone, and at the same price. However, give it a few weeks to months, and Google often has pretty substantial price cuts on their phones, so it's likely, particularly around the holidays, that you could get this phone for a couple $100s off, versus the iPhone, which rarely is sold at a reduced cost, unless you're talking about last year's model. I've noticed the battery life is maybe not quite as good as I had hoped on the Pixel 10. It is similar to the Pixel 9, if not a little worse, if I'm being honest. So I find the battery life does not last as long, and it's been almost a month, so it has had some time to figure out my pattern of life. It can get me through all day on typical use, but boy, oh boy, it does. Even just now, in the few minutes I've been recording, I just took it off the charger. It was 100%, and it's already down to 98%. So the battery life is maybe a little more disappointing. In addition to that, it does have a tendency to heat up, and it does get pretty warm, particularly when compared to the iPhone 17. In fact, the iPhone 17, from a thermal standpoint, is about as good as I have encountered on a base iPhone. I'll even mount the iPhone 17. I've done this for a couple of days now. I've mounted it on my bike, and I have Strava running. And then I have a video up that I'm listening to while I'm biking, and we're still 90 degree days, direct sunlight, and the iPhone will not. Typically what I notice on prior iPhones is that it'll go ahead and dim itself down after a couple of minutes of being in the heat and sun. It'll throttle itself down. That has not happened yet with the iPhone 17. The Pixel 10, however, I would not think about taking this and mounting it in my bike in the heat. I've done it a couple times, but it doesn't manage heat as well, and it will throttle down, and the battery life will just go to hell. And then you plug it in to charge it, and it gets really hot, and so it runs a lot warmer than the iPhone 17 and a lot warmer than its predecessor, the Pixel 9. So that is a potential concern as far as the longevity of the device goes. As far as, let's see, is there anything else really noteworthy about it? Not really. I do have the Pixel Buds Pro. I think this is the 2. I actually really like these. These are small, they're light, they connect well, they have really good noise cancellation. I don't know that they're any better than the AirPod Pro, the more current generations, but just for how small and light and unobtrusive they are, it's actually pretty impressive. So I was disappointed that the new ones that coming out this year are not color coordinated to the colors of the new phones. You can see this is the peony color that I bought to complement my Pixel 9 from last year. So I'm still rocking these after a year. Yeah, I really like them. They complement the Pixel 10 quite nicely. So overall, I have to say the Pixel 10 is a pretty good phone, but it certainly has some flaws and some pretty notable downgrades from last year. And so this is a situation where I probably would not recommend you upgrade if you have a Pixel 9, simply because you are really taking a big hit in terms of photography. Yes, you are getting some telephoto capabilities, but you're giving up a bit to do that, and I'm not entirely sure it's worth it. And the heating and battery issues, I'm a little concerned about, because it did not have those issues on the Pixel 9. So it is unfortunately, I think, a compromised phone in a few cases. And if I compare that to the iPhone 17, unfortunately, it doesn't compare as favorably to the iPhone 17, simply because the iPhone 17 is better. It is better in virtually every conceivable way that I can think of when compared to its predecessors. The cameras are better, the battery's better, the front camera is a game changer, dare I say. The processor's better. It seems to manage heat better. It is just better in almost every single way, and that's not the case with the Pixel 10. It is definitively compromised when it comes to the cameras. It is definitively compromised, potentially, I won't say definitively, but potentially compromised when it comes to the battery and heating issues when compared to its predecessors. So yeah, it is unfortunate, but perhaps what we are seeing happen with the base iPhone and what's happening with Samsung and OnePlus and some of these other phones, perhaps that will galvanize Google to up their game when it comes to the base Pixel next year. At least that is the hope. So it does sound like I'm being negative on this phone, and I'm just pointing out some of the issues, some of the compromises, and some of the downgrades from last year. But overall, it certainly is a good phone, and I don't hate it. It's just compromised compared to its predecessors. And so I have to point that out. All right, so that is my extended review of the Google Pixel 10. Thank you all so much. Take care.